Hello, my name is Kostas Triantis, and I'm with Virginia Tech, the Grado Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the NSF-sponsored workshop on abstraction and elaboration. Now, the objective of the workshop was to investigate the theoretical foundations in systems engineering with respect to those two concepts of abstraction and elaboration. What we had the participants of the workshop do is to follow certain steps within the workshop. One is to look at the theoretical gaps in the literature. Second is to define the axiomatic framework on which abstraction and elaboration are based. Third is to what is it that we can borrow from other disciplines. And fourth, and finally, to investigate how the theory is related to societal needs as well as the practice of systems engineering. We started out with an initial premise that abstraction and elaboration are critical processes for the design of complex engineered systems. And additionally, we had to start out with basic definitions of what we meant by abstraction and elaboration. Abstraction being the process by which we form initial concepts, recognizing common features in individuals as well as in the systems themselves. Second, for elaboration, we started out with the process of refining the initial concept that comes out of abstraction by adding detail. Now, one of the additional challenges of the workshop, in addition to defining what abstraction and elaboration are, is how do we understand theory in systems engineering, and at the same time, how do we evolve and define that theory in the context of abstraction and elaboration. And so, just suffice it to say that we had two approaches that were followed in the workshop. One was more of an inductive kind of an approach. The other was more of a deductive approach. Now, a little bit about the selection of the participants. There were basically mid-career and senior research faculty, academics that have made significant contributions in the research community. Second, the venue we chose was in Frost, West Virginia, which gave us the opportunity to isolate people for 5 days in a geographic location where they couldn't be distracted with other activities. This gave us the opportunity to enhance the team dynamics as well as to create a sense of community within the context of the workshop. Let me now switch gears and talk about some of the conclusions that came out of the workshop that are summarized in the poster. And let me say that initially there were 3 teams that were formed as part of the workshop that naturally merged into 2 teams. The first team focused more on taking a specific example, and the specific example that they focused on was the role of a broker as the person then brokers among or between different organizational teams and structures in defining and abstracting and elaborating the concept of the system. And as part of that journey in terms of brokering, there were a couple of things that came out of this. Number one is that it became immediately apparent that we needed to incorporate in our thinking the mirroring hypothesis that is known in the literature, mirroring between the organizational structure and the artifact that's being designed. The second issue that came to the surface is that we needed to explore and include other domains, research domains, those of social and behavioral sciences, organizational theory, among others. The other thing that came to the surface is that it became very apparent in terms of understanding the role of the broker as the broker facilitates the processes of abstraction and elaboration in the context of systems engineering, is that we needed to define interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary research and how they pertain to systems engineering. The second group focused primarily on defining terms and the three terms that three verbs that they focused on was those of abstract, elaborate, and compose. So this is the sort of the overview of the workshop that was conducted in Frost, West Virginia in February of 2016. Thank you.